Good evening, viewers at home. Good evening. It's a wonderful Tuesday evening, today being the 13th of June 2021. In looking at some of the headlines that have characterized the Nigerian political landscape, we'll be doing justice to some of the news we've decided to discuss. And with me in the studio is Mr. Oloku Bienuse Matthew. Mr. Matthew, welcome to the Pundits.
Good evening. Thank you very much.
We'll be looking at the headline which says Bandits expose Sim NIN linkage failure. Police can't track gunmen. So in looking at this, what do you make of it? Because from this report, it shows that the SIM card registration and the NIN linkage, which was given to everybody to use as a result of the banking registration, which we all did, should have been able to track most of these bandits, their calls and every other thing. We did this majorly because of insecurity and to make things much more easy when such cases come up. But it is a pity that rather than solving the problem, the escalation of kidnapping took a new dimension, and the major essence, the essence of this registration just seems is one traditional operation that has no meaning. So what do you make of this?
Okay, thank you. You see, if you look at the revelation coming out from people in Kaduna State, Katsina, Zamfara, and some other places where kidnapping is predominant, we understand that the essence of linking the SIM with NIN seem to have been defeated. Because there are instances where victims have explained that they gave out phone numbers to security agencies. There is a particular incident where the person involved said that he went to pay ransom. When he got to where he was mandated to drop the ransom, he himself was detained because the ransom was not complete.
Oh, please hold on. For viewers at home who want to join us in the conversation, you can please send your comment to the comment page, questions as well as your opinion on some of these topical issues as it's ravaging the Nigerian society. Thank you very much.
So, curiously, the Nigerian security agencies, the police, the army, the DSS, all of them put together, have not been able to deploy the strength of the registration to track down any phone number of kidnappers, the bandits. So it's unfortunate that it looks as if there is sabotage, because ordinarily, if you have the phone number of a particular person and the government have a mandate through NCC to direct the communication industries to track down any person, any subscriber. For instance, if you are using a particular number to make call, the network provider knows the mask you are using. So to that extent, the person can be tracked to the location where the person is making the call.
That's true.
And even without linking the SIM to NIN, it's even make it easier to identify who is using a particular phone number. Because during the process of registering for NIN, linking it, all the person's data is provided, and these people do not live in the thin air. So it means there's something fundamentally wrong, that it's either the security agencies are themselves frustrating the effort to get to the root of this crime and criminality, to address it, or of course the way it is, the security agencies themselves are not doing the right thing, because there is no way you can explain that you have a particular phone number having known that this person is a kidnapper, and the person card, because up to now, by now I don't think there's any SIM card that is not registered,
even if you want to buy a new one.
So the only thing you can argue that there may be some SIM card that have not been linked to NIN. So what is now the frustration and dilemma of police, DSS, army from using the strength of this SIM card registration to track down the location and identity of these criminals.
No, but sometimes you hear the police, because I've had the personal experience, say, oh, they are not in custody of the database, they will need to write the network operator. So many excuses that I find very difficult.
That excuse is not justified, because all the security agencies are supposed to synergize. Whether, if you even look at
you
it,
use the word "are supposed to."
Yes.
Okay.
If you look at
NCC,
NCC, National Communication Commission, that's the mandate to regulate this communication industry.
Yes, true.
They have all the data of of every subscriber. Don't forget that sometime in 2015 or 2016, NCC sanctioned NTN because of violation of their order to disconnect anyone who failed to register within a particular period of time. And at that time, NTN was fined 4.something trillion naira. There was negotiation and it was reduced. But finally, I didn't know how much they eventually paid. But the point I'm trying to make is, if NCC has the mandate to regulate the communication industries, and each time NCC cough, the communication companies are always jittering, panicking. It shows that they have that potency. It shows that they have that teeth to bite. So they can as well mandate the communication industry for purpose of investigation that a particular SIM card is of concern, that they should get the mask, the location where the user is, where the subscriber is using it currently, real time, that they can decipher. So that is to tell you that something is fundamentally wrong with all the synergy that's supposed to exist between all the security agencies and NCC.
So is it as a result of the fact that it's obvious now that there is no synergy between the NCC?
Obviously there is no synergy, and perhaps some persons, there may be dereliction of duty on the part of some security agencies. Because if all is working well, there is no why. That is why people were complaining when it was a thing of concern, when they were talking about the communication, the Minister of Digital Communication, Pantami, when the issue of his alleged statements in the past with insurgency, with terrorist organization, that he's a sympathizer of terrorist organization, that he was quoted to have prayed that God should give Al-Qaeda and Taliban victory. That's why people were suspecting, that people were clamoring that the such person should not lead such critical ministry. Because the way it stands, nobody can confidently say who is sabotaging the effort of the government in fighting against this insurgency. Considering the fact that the person who is leading the such ministry, there is question about his character.
So don't you feel that maybe directly or indirectly the government too is aiding its own failure?
But the way it is, because the only Nigerians need to be protected, and the government has a mandate to protect them. It doesn't matter the opinion of the government. What is important is that you contested an election, you were given the mandate, and the constitution says that you had a mandate to protect life and property. So it's immaterial whether you like it or not. You have that mandate to protect life and property. And if you are not doing it, if we are not seeing that protection forthcoming, we'll continue saying it.
But saying it, probably, will it change anything?
Of course it will, because the government will feel embarrassed. The way it stands, if the people are not being protected and you are speaking it, the international community is hearing it, the government will feel embarrassed. That in a way force them to do the needful. Whether we like it or not, we need Nigeria protection.
Or somewhere else.
In Nigeria,
if we're looking at the agitation and complaints of people, the country would have really moved forward. If they are not looking at the complaint of the people, the government will not think of banning Twitter, because they felt it was an embarrassment what the conversation they were seeing on Twitter and other social media platforms. So they felt the best way to address it, to save their head from that embarrassment, was to ban Twitter. If you see all the rigmarole about whether to ban other social media or to regulate the media and guide the media, it is as a result of that same embarrassment they want to avoid. So, but one thing I'm looking at is the life of people is at stake here, And those in governance really don't care, and they don't seem to take some of these issues much more serious. Because if I have to speak from a personal experience, NIM to me has really not worked, even in places where you mistakenly transfer money, someone wanted to defraud maybe another customer, and you call the bank will say you should go and get a court injunction to reverse the money, and the money you use in getting the court injunction is even more than the amount of the money you want to.
Is it court injunction or affidavit?
The court injunction.
That is serious.
Yes, I had a personal experience. So the bank said you need to get a court injunction before you can withdraw the money back from the customer's account. Okay, why not you contact the customer's bank and they should contact the customer? They said no, you can't contact the customer. And when you see the procedure, and a friend had similar issue in South Africa, within 24 hours the bank contacted the other bank, they contacted the customer, and they reversed the money. But in Nigeria, is it that Nigeria is a different client when nothing that works internationally ever
the problem in Nigeria is once the political class is satisfied, they are comfortable, they want the status quo to
remain the same, even when it's
so
obvious.
But it is immaterial whether the common man is suffering or not. I think that is the problem we have in Nigeria.
No, but Mr. Matthew, it's not just some of the kidnap cases are really not about poor people. Like the students of Greenfield University, the private university, I don't really feel they are poor people.
You may not believe that,
but maybe I'm
talking about the political class.
Okay.
I'm not talking about the wealth creators. Yes, I'm not talking about the entrepreneurs, the people who are influential in the society.
Okay.
I'm not talking about living an affluent life. I'm talking about the political class, because they are the one that drive the process of policy. They are the one that drive the process of government decision. So if the government shows willpower to do a particular thing, the political class have a way of influencing it, either in the negative or positive end. So for me, I think because the political class somehow feel protected, you need to go and see the number of police that go about with about when the senator moves, or have a representative member goes about his personal daily activities. You need to see the retinue of security agencies that follow them about. So I think they are comfortable, and they think that the same way the common man is comfortable.
A friend of mine was saying some of the numbers of police officers that follow some of the political class. Like there was a time we had to see the former speaker of the House of Representatives. He said the whole police in a full divisional police station is not up to the numbers of the policemen that a speaker of the State House of Assembly was moving.
So it's unfortunate, and if you see, once they are comfortable in their comfort zone, they feel that every other person is comfortable. That is why.
No, they don't feel. They know that every other person is not comfortable, but they don't just care.
So, and I think if we continue talking and they continue feeling embarrassed, it will get a point where they will continue thinking of how do we salvage the situation.
Okay, let's move over to the next headline. So, before we get to the next headline, so conclusively, it's been established that the SIM registration and NIN was just cosmetic approach that's really not solved the issue of insecurity. It has not addressed the issue of interbanking fraud. As long as I'm concerned, I have a personal issue that I know about till date. The money is still locked up in one of the banks, and it has not solved anything.
But I think again, the government need to bring in some experts.
But this government,
you know what? Do you know why I'm saying it? Do you know why I'm saying it?
Sorry, Mr. Mas. This government, we need to. This government, the government. Who are these governments? Because they hardly respond to any of these issues.
You see,
I think Nigeria is the only country whereby you have this kind of plethora of issues. So many issues that the solution lies within the hand of the government, and nobody's talking. Everybody goes down with people analyze issues, talk, and we go back our normal life. And even you see people in government complaining on the same issue. What are we practicing?
They are hypocritical.
No, some of them might not be in the agencies to carry out some of these things, in all fairness. But on one hand, they are also in government.
If you see people in government complaining, they are being hypocritical. Because in a way, they have what it takes to influence. Because go and check almost every person who has that, who is politically exposed, who have that political influence. They always have their way in everything they do in this country. Virtually everything, they have their way. If it is an issue that demand that people should queue, you can't see them on queue. Take for instance this vaccine, COVID-19 vaccine. Have you taken pain to examine or carry out a survey? How are they administering the vaccine? The setup principle and who should benefit. Have you carried out a survey to ensure that it is being complied to?
Well, Mr. Matthew, that's a different conversation altogether.
So I'm trying to tell you that in Nigeria they don't do things and follow the due process.
Okay, let's move away from that headline. The next headline here talks about Sanwo-Olu convoys catches Lagos traffic robbers in operation. So now it is the convoy of the governor that had to intervene.
No, it was spontaneous.
Okay.
It was not, because the governor was moving his convoy and ran into the scene. He quickly ordered his security detail to apprehend the culprits who were at the time armed with machetes trying to dispossess motorists or weapon developments.